Do you like my frozen attire? It goes perfectly with the message and the purpose of this video. We just went and saw Frozen 2, and oh my goodness, I just pretty much bawled through the whole movie. And of course, I loved the first one, and there were so many powerful songs in that first one for me, but I was still in a different stage of my life and my spirituality. And so this Frozen 2 was like mind-blowing. It's as if the producers and writers of this one knew exactly what many of us are experiencing, and it was so validating. To me, Frozen 2 is all about the great awakening that is happening all over the world. Here's some of the things that stood out to me from the movie that I wanted to share, and how it so very much applies to my life and everything that I'm experiencing or that I have experienced. So I'm going to go down just a few points in the movie. I highly recommend everybody go watch it. I'm sure you will. This is one of those movies that like everybody will watch. So this movie was just as powerful for me, if not more so, as the movie Smallfoot that came out last year. Like that movie, the timing was just perfect. It was beautiful. So I wanted to point out some of the parallels that I found in Frozen 2 and share some of the points that resonated the most with me. First of all, it begins with Olaf and Anna sitting out having a little picnic, and Olaf is just sitting there, you know, just wondering and asking Anna, like, have you ever wondered about the notion that nothing is permanent? I love that he's questioning that. I love that he's feeling a little bit unsettled around that thought, because I can very much relate to Olaf. And then it leads into Elsa hearing a call, and she hears something calling to her, and she goes on to express the inner turmoil that she's experiencing, and she does so absolutely beautifully in her song Into the Unknown. And I wanted to read the lyrics of that song because it is amazing. I can hear you, but I won't. Some look for trouble while others don't. There's 1,000 reasons I should go about my day and ignore your whispers, which I wish would go away. You're not a voice, you're just a ringing in my ear, and if I heard you, which I don't, I'm spoken for, I fear. I love that part because many of us feel that calling, that voice, that pull, telling us something needs to change, and we try to push it down. Some of us for many years, like Sean did, and I did for a while too, pushing it down like, no, no, no. Everyone I've ever loved is here within these walls. I'm sorry, secret siren, but I'm blocking out your calls. I've had my adventure. I don't need something new. I'm afraid of what I'm risking if I follow you. Oh my gosh. Don't you all resonate with that? We're feeling like this religion or this belief, this system is no longer fitting with us. It is no longer serving us. We don't feel the expansion of our spiritual growth, and we're feeling frustrated. But everybody that we know and love is within this organization, and it's just too much. It's almost like we're risking too much if we answer that call, right? And so that's why it takes many of us sometimes years to actually leave the system and to be brave and to have that kind of courage. It's a very challenging thing to do, to break away from this type of system or religious belief. Into the unknown, into the unknown. What do you want? Because you've been keeping me awake. Are you here to distract me so I make a big mistake? Or are you someone out there who's a little bit like me, who knows deep down I'm not where I'm meant to be? And I think that's something that many of us struggle with, because based on a lot of the teachings that we were taught growing up in the church, that anything that is trying to distract us from the church or the truth or following God is Satan. So it causes us a lot of confusion, like, wait, is this like, is it just Satan trying to distract me from the right path? But really, if more of us could listen to that voice and not be so afraid of it and realize that maybe it's not Satan, maybe it is God, maybe it's your inner being, your higher self trying to tell you to break away. Every day's a little harder as I feel my power grow. Don't you know there's part of me that longs to go into the unknown? Into the unknown. Such a good song. You guys need to go listen to it if you haven't heard it yet. This whole movie is all about transformation, truth, and freedom. But the other part of this movie that really stood out to me was Anna's dark night of the soul. Like, oh my gosh, like her song, that's the part where I bawled the most, because it was like she was singing my experience of the dark night of the soul, and I wanted to read it. I've seen dark before, but not like this. This is cold, this is empty, this is numb. The life I knew is over, the lights are out. Hello darkness, I'm ready to succumb. I follow you around, I always have. You've gone to a place I cannot find. This grief has a gravity, it pulls me down, but a tiny voice whispers in my mind, you are lost, hope is gone, but you must go on and do the next right thing. That is how I felt when I discovered the truth about the church and realizing that everything that I thought was real, everything that I believed in, what I thought was truth, was all lies. That was a very traumatic experience for me because I felt like I was falling. I did a video about this as well, describing what this experience was like for me. And it was the scariest experience I've ever had. I also did a whole podcast episode about it called How I Endured a Panic Attack. I had an initial panic attack that lasted for days, and also the anxiety. I had lingering anxiety because of this whole realization, my awakening. It was the most beautiful, the most traumatic, terrifying experience I've ever had. Can there be a day beyond this night? I don't know anymore what is true. I can't find my direction. I'm all alone. The only star that guided me was you. How to rise from the floor when it's not you I'm rising for. Wow, that was so good. Just do the next right thing. Take a step, step again. It is all that I can do. The next right thing. I won't look too far ahead, it's too much for me to take, but break it down to this next breath, this next step, this next choice is one that I can make. So I'll walk through this night, stumbling blindly toward the light, and do the next right thing, and with the dawn, what comes then, what is clear that everything will never be the same again, then I'll make the choice to hear that voice and do the next right thing. Isn't that beautiful? So comforting, so inspired. Oh my gosh, it's so good. And then I love the part where they finally realized that Arendelle was based on lies, that their grandfather, who they thought was this amazing man and they loved and adored, turns out he betrayed them all. They believed the lies, and it was devastating for them to realize that this person that they loved and trusted and thought was such a good man, turns out he was not so good. And that's kind of how my comparison to Joseph Smith. I just feel betrayed by a man who I had so much respect for and thought was such an incredible person. And then when you realize and discover the truth about the history of the church and about the life of Joseph Smith, you feel very betrayed, and it's very sad. And so all of this combined triggers your dark night of the soul, which is essential for your growth. And all you can do in that moment, when you feel like you see no light, you're in complete and utter darkness, and that's the point where you might in fact even believe that maybe the members of the church are right, because I have lost the light. This was Satan deceiving me, and now I can't go back. I have lost the light. But don't believe that. I believed it for a while, and it was so scary, and I felt like I didn't know how to get back to that place of belief. There was no turning back. But I let time pass. I just did what Anna advised to do and just did the next right thing, put one foot in front of the other, and as time went on, things just got lighter, things began to make sense. I began to feel peace again. I saw the light. It's just a process, but you have to get to the lowest of lows, be in complete darkness for you to actually discover the light for yourself and appreciate the light, and it becomes that much brighter, brighter than you've ever experienced before in your life. And that's why they call it enlightenment or an awakening. You feel like you've been enlightened. Not that I've reached this level of enlightenment, but it's like I just took off my glasses and now I see things from a different perspective, and it's a lot more beautiful than it was before. And that's why I continue to share these things on social media, on YouTube, on Instagram. I can't not share it. And then the end, I love what Olaf says once again, and it's kind of like the moral of the story in a way, where he finally realized the impermanent nature of this life, of our existence. He comes to the realization that the one thing that is permanent and forever reliable is love. And that gives me so much peace, that although we might feel like everything is falling apart and the rug has been swept out from underneath us and so much is changing, and you long for things to stay the same, and the one thing that we can find comfort in that is permanent and will always be permanent is love. So if we seek love and connection with others, we can never go wrong. Thanks you guys for watching. And go watch Frozen. I love you. Love my baby.